Gordon Ryan did a new interview with Jon Jones. I spoke to Gordon over the weekend. Let's back up a little bit. I get a text message from Gordon, and he sends me a poster of the upcoming Fight Pass match where he will be the main event taking on Mason Fowler. And Mason Fowler was the Submission Underground champion. I've been very interested in getting that specific match together for a number of years now, and I came and brought you guys a piece a couple of weeks ago. So Gordon was letting me know, this is your fault. not good job you promoted this, or thanks for getting us a main event. This is your fault, which was like his way of threatening our champion, Mason Fowler. I liked it. Everything's fine here. But now I'm going down a Gordon rabbit hole. So, and I'm very much looking forward to that match for a number of reasons. And when I wanted to make that match and or just have that match made, I really wanted it under the EBI rules. I think the EBI rules are the top rules in grappling. That's very debatable. I think they're the top rules in grappling. It eliminates a draw. It eliminates a tie, right? Even Abu Dhabi, which I love and respect, when I became the super fight champion, the score of the match that I won to win my championship was 0-0. It is quite literally the referees will go huddle up, make a decision, and come back. And that's the way that it's always been. I'm sharing with you one thing that EBI does is it establishes a winner, but there's also a game being played there. There is very much a game. Strategies come into effect more under the EBI rules than any other accepted rule set within grappling, in my opinion. But Mason Fowler is 100% the potential kryptonite and has been for a while. And one big thing in Mason's favor, as good as Mason is, as many matches as he won, this guy's beaten world champions, he's beaten Abu Dhabi champions, and I'm talking about finishing them. He's beaten Olympic champions. He does his best work when he's the underdog. So many people get intimidated by Gordon Ryan for very good reason. Gordon is one of the most special and elite athletes in the world today. As great as LeBron is, just to throw a name at you that you guys would recognize, the gap between LeBron and the next best guy is actually debatable. Some people don't debate that there is a gap, right? I mean, they'll think that there's some other guys that are as good as LeBron by example. That isn't the case in grappling. In fact, the only athlete that has a gap between themselves and the field larger than Gordon's is Simone Biles. So, I mean, this is really an exceptional athlete. There's good reasons that guys would wilt in the back. There's good reasons that they would fold and be scared and just looking to leave there in one piece. Grappling gets viewed by the audience as a real family event. If you go to a grappling event, I mean, you got grandma and grandpa, you got the baby sitting right on the knees, sometimes up on the shoulders. Everybody's clapping. I mean, there's no tension in the room. It's one of these special events. It isn't driven by alcohol. There's not a whole lot of sports you can say that about. Like, if you ever try to watch a baseball game, it is so painfully boring. But if you got enough suds, you don't even want it to end. Football would not exist. Those big packed stadiums you see for football, if they took the beer out of the stadiums, it ends the game. And I only bring that to you. It's a very big difference in grappling. It's a very lighthearted. There's no tension. Everybody's friendly. Before, during, after, it's very competitive. And I only bring that to you. It's a big surprise because if you read the rules, it is the most vicious skill set that I've ever seen. You are only encouraged to do two things: break somebody or strangle somebody. Whether it's their ankle, their knee, their leg, their elbow, their shoulder, or to literally make them lose consciousness. That's all you're encouraged to do. It is brutal. So when you are in those situations, particularly with somebody like Gordon, who is that crafty, there's a reason that guys wilt. There's a reason that guys instantly turn to the moral victory. Guys who have had the moral victory, right? The moral victory is I'm going to lose, but I'm not going to lose as bad as the other guys lose. I'm for sure losing, but I might lose in overtime. I'm for sure losing, but I might lose due to a criteria. I'm for sure losing, but I might not have to go to the emergency room after. And Mason's not in that category. That is absolutely when he does his finest work. He does fine work all the time. He's generally the favorite, and he still finishes guys. He does even better work if he can find himself in a situation where people think he's not good enough to win. So, as I'm looking forward to that match, Gordon is doing interviews talking about the time that he's training with Jon Jones. And Jon has also done interviews talking about the time that he's trained with Gordon. And there is a constant theme. And it's more so when Jon does it, but the constant theme of Gordon, his training partner, is that Jon wants to work on his skills and his ability to finish matches on the ground. And Jon is letting that be known. You can't get sparring footage of Jon Jones. You can go out there and look it up. You're not going to find it. Jon does not put that out. He's had very big fights. Daniel Cormier ×2. You just see any sparring footage. A huge fight ended up not materializing. Rest his soul, Rumble Johnson. I mean, that's the one the world wanted. The Rock himself weighed in and said, I acknowledge Jon is great. Rumble's going to beat him. And that was a really sought-after match. Gustafsson ×2. You're not going to find sparring footage. Jon, very willingly, is putting out grappling footage of him and Gordon. Why? Why do you think that is? Jon is not a tactical player. Jon is not a chess player with some kind of a strategy where he's several steps ahead. So I'm likely looking at this and giving him far more credit. But it does seem, even if it's subconsciously and on accident, that Jon is trying to create a narrative prior to this match that he wants to make sure Stipe hears. As a matter of fact, Jon laid that out. One time after Jon training with Gordon, and while discussing the training with Gordon, he said, I'm getting ready to get this guy down and finish him on the mat like I did Surreal. Meanwhile, Stipe's over in Cleveland getting ready for a boxing match. And I'm just wondering why Jon would do that. Jon does play head games. They just aren't very sophisticated, but he does play them. He knows that's a part of the sport. He does try to be involved. What is he doing here? Is he being sincere, right? That's where you can overthink it. That's where you, right? This is why strategies work. This is why it's so effective to do what Jon's doing. It's so effective to do what Jon's doing, to throw it out there, to then make the guy get trapped in his head. Okay, is he planning to get me to the ground and finish me? Is that what I need to really be worried about? Or does he want me to think that's what he's doing so that he can come out and piece me up on the feet? And you'll go back and forth and you'll make yourself crazy. It's why it works so well. And I'm really impressed that Jon's doing it. I am. I'm impressed by it. But I haven't seen Jon do it before to this extent. I mean, just by the example that I gave you, I haven't seen Jon actually put out interviews and say what his strategy is. I haven't seen Jon, moreover, put out footage showing the world what he's working on, telling them what his strategy is. I just haven't seen it. So then I got to wonder why. And the more Jon talks about, I'm going to grapple, I'm going to get him down, just like I did Surreal Gone, it makes me think, no, he's not. There's not very many things that you could look at Jon's body of work and establish have gotten worse over time. That'd be really hard to do. And the collective sum is quite the opposite, because most categories, he goes up. One theme about Jon Jones fights is every single time he fights, he does something that he's never done before. Ever. He's getting better. He's getting more creative. But if you were to look at it and be critical, you would be right to come to the conclusion one thing that is greatly reduced as Jon's fights started getting closer, one thing that has been diminished is his takedown. He's taking guys down less. He's taking fewer guys down. Dominic Reyes would be a perfect example. And even the takedown he had on Surreal was on accident. That was not a takedown. That was not a trained technique. That was Jon changing elevation, moving forward, and Surreal plopping to the mat. I mean, just by example. And I will tell you firsthand, if you get underneath Jon, when you get up, you will be different. Whether you scrambled and you got up, or whether you made it to the end of the round and the referee brought you up because the horn went off, you will now be different. I think that is one of Jon's best positions, but Jon is so good, even when his best position doesn't work, everything else still does, right? Like, I fully do acknowledge that. But if I know his takedowns are diminishing and I know that that's his best position, then of course he would know the same thing. And there is some reason that he wants Stipe to believe he's going to take him down and attempt to submit him, as opposed to ground and pound with those elbows, which is what his most dangerous attributes are. There's a strategy being played here for the first time ever by Jon. At a minimum, what you can deduce by that is that Jon himself respects Stipe more than he does other opponents. Jon himself is looking at this match as a bigger problem that requires another step, which is now psychological warfare. I think Jon's doing a very good job of it, frankly. I'm interested in it. I am not a good enough detective or psychologist to tell you, is he being sincere or is that the swerve? I don't know. That's also what makes things like this work.